You can only buy 2 tickets. One. Yes. You can only buy 2 tickets. Jeff, yeah. Well, we'll figure that out. They're gonna. The order was just finalized on Thursday, so I don't know when the mail is going to go. Like they said, they would print them and mail them to us, and we'll see how it's going to go. Yes, only 2 tickets per person. They are exclusive to DDG members until November 1st. After November 1st, anybody that wants to buy a ticket can buy a ticket and not be a DDG member. Okay? So you guys have first dibs, but we want to make sure that we make all the money back that we're spending on it. So yeah, the end. Period. You have until November 1st. After that, it's fair game for anybody that wants to go to the show. Okay? Yeah? Yes?
So, as I'm sure all of you are aware, we just started doing recording for our DDG.mp4, which is our video show, and DDG Roundtable, which is our podcast. We need people to help us get the show to continue it, especially with the podcast run. So if there's anybody who likes to hear themselves talk or just look at themselves, send us an email at ddg.uball@gmail, and we'll try and squeeze you in.
Cool. I need 1 minute. All right, without further ado, we're going to get started with a children's game design panel. Will our panelists please come up to the stage?
Hello.
Welcome.
All right, so to get us started, and a little introduction as to why we're doing this, and Steve's going to take pictures of us just sitting here. So this year, who can tell me what is the thing that makes our indie game contest different from previous years? Yes, Connor. Right. It's going to be awesome, right? So, I mean, that was the introduction. So, we have our fantastic panelists here to give us some insight on, mindset when it comes to designing for children. So, to get started, if we could go down the table and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your work in game design.
My name is Greg Walsh, and I'm a professor here, and I have some of you in classes, or I've had some of you guys, so how are you? If I didn't point out when you were in class, is that most of my work has been with kids. I've done a lot of research on how you can design with kids, and a lot of the stuff that came out of it were games. They were either extra games, or they were learning games, or just more fun stuff like that. So, thank you. Thanks for having us.
My name is Jason Yip. I'm a doctoral candidate at the University of Maryland, and I worked with Greg for a while on designing with kids. And starting Monday, I'm actually going to start a position at the Joe Gans Community Center. It's a workshop studying how families and children go work together in media. And a lot of the work we do at the Joe Gans Community Center focuses on games and learning. So we've done a lot of that initiatives. I've done work on designing games with families in museum settings. And we did a lot, actually, in our work with kids team up at the University of Maryland. We've done a lot of games with, at least from what I remember, the National Park Service, a lot of the games for so that's sort of my experience.
My name is Craig. I'm just starting the doctoral program here in interaction design. I actually spent the last 2.5 years working for Nickelodeon and their digital consumer insights team, working with our website teams, our online game teams, console game teams, mobile game teams, mobile web, anything digital I was involved with, helping with the design and research of. So I've worked on 100 plus products over the last 3.5 years. And worked with Greg while I was there, so he can tell me
just so you know, all three of us worked on the, with kids, worked on the Nickelodeon app, and so we are all Emmy Award winners.
Yeah. By association.
By
No
association.
no recognition.
Yeah, no recognition, but the app did win an Emmy. So.
All right, thank you guys. So we're going to get started with a predetermined question and answer portion, and then we'll open it up to questions after about an hour or so. Okay? So the first question on the list is pretty broad. Just how do you define what is kid-friendly?
Yeah.
I think mine could be you guys. So I've actually been working with kids probably just as long as any of these guys, because I worked with the Boy Scouts for about 10 years, which I think that, and I worked with 4-H as well. So I've been working with kids since I was about 12. Yeah.
Since you were a kid. Since you were a kid.
Yeah, since I was a kid, I worked with kids. So I've got a number of years of experience of what's kid-friendly, per se, from a lot of different perspectives, from the Boy Scouts, and from what my work was with Nickelodeon. And honestly, I think the definition of that varies. It depends on what you're making, as far as the type of media that you want to produce for them. Is it educational? Is it just for entertainment? Is it just for you to push boundaries? Because I would say that that's something that you could say Nick used to do a little more of, and we're trying to get back to that, but what they made kid-friendly may not be the same things that a church or Boy Scouts or some formal group or educational group would find appropriate for children. And I would actually say that if you really want to try and figure out for yourselves what is kid-friendly today, and a general idea is to talk to the new generation of parents, actually, to see what they would deem appropriate.
I think to bounce off what Greg has said, I think one of the things that we found out a lot in our research with kids is that like what they find kid friendly kind of blows your mind. Like you're just like as an adult, like I'm 34 now, and I feel like I've aged quite a bit since being a kid. And so but some things are universal, some things aren't. And I think one of the things that really blew us away at this report was that the kids really wanted sort of like surprises. We talked about this here. If you look at the Nickelodeon app, we built this thing called the Do Not Touch button. The kids came out of nowhere, like out of like in our sessions. This thing is that like it's a button that it is what it is. Do not touch. But if you touch this, there's this giant random surprise that happens. Right? It's part of being kid friendly. The surprise is part of being kid friendly. It's sort of being able to say like, I'm a kid, but I can push boundaries. Right? This button right here says don't touch. You know what? I'm a kid. I'm gonna touch it. Right? So it was sort of that sort of playfulness that we sort of saw as being kid friendly. A lot of it, and that came a lot out of the surprise. Like that came out of nothing but kid from. We talked to kids and we worked with them. And just serendipitously that idea worked. And it wasn't just like you could say we don't also talk to kids, but I think one of the things that we want to also emphasize in our research is that we actually work with kids. So it isn't just like, let me give you a question and I'll get an answer from you. That will kid right? A lot of it is also just us playing around with the kids and starting to realize, okay, like we see them actually designing. And they're actually having fun. And sort of in that part of the fun is starting to pervade into the design. So that's kind of what we're sort of seeing kid friendly is.
So I think that kid-friendly has a bunch of different dimensions. I mean, I am a new parent. I have one of your judges actually that I'm raising for the spring, and an 18-month-old on top of that. And so if you think of what's kid-friendly, like we can talk about a lot of different things with what's kid-friendly. So if you think about like I was thinking of it as cognitively, culturally, and then psychomotor is what's kid-friendly, right? So cognitively, what's kid-friendly is how hard is it for them to approach this thing? Like how hard is it for them to play the game? If you think of a game like Infinity Blade, like it's actually pretty easy for a little kid to play, but then culturally, do you want them to play that game, right? Like is it kid-friendly? Is it too violent for them? Is there too many things on the screen that are inappropriate for a little kid? So that's part of the balance of kid-friendly. Is you can make a game very accessible to a child, but if the content is pretty crazy and much more adult themed, that would be tough for them. So culturally, that matters. In some cultures, especially in America, we're much more desensitized to violence. So we might let smaller children play play a game that's considered violent. Whereas in Europe, they would be more attuned to a game. They'd be more comfortable with a game that had nudity, for a kid than they would a game that was violent. So that's the other thing that culturally you have to understand too, is that what are the social norms of that particular culture? And then finally, psychomotor would be what can they physically do? So if you think about how big a Xbox 360 controller is, or even the new Xbox One controllers and the PS4 controllers, as well as the Steam controller, right? The Steam controller, if you try and give that to a little kid, they're going to have a really hard time because their fingers can't actually manipulate the controls. So you have to think about the controls that you have available to you and how a child would be able to use those controls. Something like Kinect, actually back it up, something like Wii worked really well with young families because it's just this stick that you hold and you wave around, and maybe you press a button on there, or it's analogous to a real movement like you're bowling. I encourage you all to look at a game called the Pooh-Yoos, which is a game on the Wii. It'll drive you insane. You can watch it on YouTube. But if you want to see a game that's very, very, very kid-friendly, that's a great one. At the same time, it's not adult-friendly in any way. You would just all want to shoot yourselves. Yes? The Pooh-Yoos, P-O-O-Y-O-O. Yeah. So the Pooh, we have it. It's on our Wii. It's WiiWare. You can download it. So that's why I think it's kid-friendly. You have to think it's the dimension.
Add more thing to that too. Something that we always did or learned about at Nickelodeon is that when you're designing for your audience, a lot of the way that kids consume media, whether it is a game or otherwise, is that it's aspirational. So anytime you're designing, you might say I'm designing for a 12-year-old, and the people who will actually end up playing that is usually going to be like the 9, 10-year-olds who really like it. Like if you look at any of the commercials for the Disney Infinity game that's out right now, all of those kids are like 13, 14 and talking about how they're having these amazing adventures with Jack Sparrow in their toy boxes. But we all know that each one of those kids are going home and playing Call of Duty and shooting up their friends. So it's kind of a weird and that's something where when you work for big companies like Disney and Nickelodeon or Sesame, I'm sure you create things, you have to be able to create things that you can tell the parents this was made for a 12-year-old. And then to some extent, sometimes you have to live with the fact that only the 8 and 9-year-olds are actually going to play with it. Because it's really hard to combine SpongeBob with Call of Duty and have kids love it. And that's a legitimate example because I've talked to so many kids who are like, oh, how can we make a great SpongeBob game? It's like, oh, make it like Call of Duty. It's like, well, you can't really do that, but it's what you have to aspire for if you want to hold on to them.
The other thing to think about is instead of replace kid-friendly with family-friendly, because sometimes that's a better experience. It's not necessarily the game that is what's fun about the game. It's the experience of playing the game with other people in your family that also can be really fun, which is another reason the Wii and the Kinect do so well with families.
Yeah, and even now, think about the iPads and the screen size, the real estate, looking at how much, usually how many players can come on, right? Is it one player, one iPad, two, that's some kids, and depending on the fingers and stuff, their size, it's really a big challenge to look at. How to expand the playability of families as well.
Yeah, especially if you're doing things like pinching and zooming in your mobile game, that's just, kids can have trouble with that. Thank you. Thanks, Governor.
Yeah. Bye. No. Please don't. So you guys talked about when you were designing the Nickelodeon app, you did a lot of work with children in designing this application. Could you talk more about that process of designing games with children rather than for children?
Sure. I can
Go for it.
So you can actually come see how we do it. So Craig and I, and then a master's student named Emily, and then I think we have an undergrad, and maybe another undergrad coming to help us. But we have a kids team here on campus that we started. This week was our first set of sessions. We meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:45 to 5:15. And so what we do is we have seven kids. They're all from within the city. 4 of them are from Bolton Hill, and they're all best friends. And then we have some kids from East Baltimore and North Baltimore. And what we do is we actually work with different activities to design things with the kids. So this week we worked on School of the Future. Yesterday we worked on an app to help kids be more environmentally friendly. And so you meet, we have snack, we sit in a circle, we talk about a question of the day that helps us, sort of think about things and get focused. Then we do activities with popsicle sticks and model clue, and we have toolboxes, you have bags.
What?
Yeah. We have these toolboxes filled with art supplies, and the kids are able to build models with those. And then what we do then, so the model's actually probably not going to be fantastic. Actually, sometimes the models are fantastic in and of themselves, but they don't necessarily help us design something. Instead, you have, when they talk about the model and they talk about the thing, you start writing down the key elements of the model, and those key elements become our big ideas to go forward. Yeah, and that's the same thing that happened. We do that now. The Nickelodeon app was done that way. The National Park Service, as Jason mentioned, there are things called Web Rangers, and all the Web Ranger activities were pretty much designed in that same process.
To kind of jump off what Greg was saying, sorry, Greg. A lot of the reasons, so there's lots of different ways people have been working with kids for a long time. I mean, you can sort of look at it as, we can imagine, so our advisor, Allison Druin, sort of came up with this idea that like, well, for a long time we thought about like when we were designing, well, I used to be a kid and I'm going to design with my imagination about what a kid is like, right? It's because I was a kid. So I would design for this population, my imagined population, and I would release the product with intent, right? Simply because we would imagine what the children like. So as people started realizing, like, oh, maybe we should test with children, right? So we got a little bigger about who we work with. So a lot of times, usability labs or UX labs, they'll bring kids in, they'll put the screen on the two-way mirror, they'll watch the kids, and the kids will act as testers, right? We get a lot of good information from that. And then we started realizing, well, testers are great, but like, they don't really help us solve the problem of design. So then we go into this idea of informants. So then we started thinking about focus groups. We sit down with a group of people, and we have 5 kids in the room, and we ask, hey, what do you think is a fun game, right? Tell us what you think is kid-friendly. And we gather information from interviews and all that. But what we found is that a lot of times even in that informant view, there's sort of this power struggle that occurs. Because you're an adult, and the kids will tell you what. I think one thing that people sort of forget is that kids will tell you what you want to hear. Unless you build a really strong relationship with them, they won't be honest. Because you're an adult until you tell them, you ask, do you think this is fun? And they're like, yeah, it's fun. So what we really wanted to advocate sort of with our view is sort of this idea of design partners. So what ends up happening is that we sort of raise the level of the kid up where they can begin to design with us. And we actually take a step back down just a little bit. So instead of like doing wireframes and programming, we actually like, you know what, we're going to use popsicle sticks to design because you can design with any material. Or you know what, we're going to just act out what we're going to design. So instead of drawing out panels, we'll do a scenario basis that will act out. So as adults, we come down, the kids come up, and we sort of meet in the middle in our design. So Greg is talking about in terms of the kids team is that, and that's sort of what we're talking about. So designing with children. So instead of just, you can do all the same things, testing, using, focus group informants. Those are really important things. You don't want to get rid of that out of your toolbox, but you might want to also consider the fact that, like, you know what, maybe we can be kids again. We can play around and start to learn about it and watch what they do and design together. And it's sort of this really nice way of being able to, now it's not unproblematic. There's a lot of trade-off back and forth. But I think our kids are a lot more honest than like, if I just interviewed a random kid off the street, or if I just brought them into a focus group, right? Only meet them once, and then I give them their $50 and they walk away with $50, right? But you don't really build with them as a design team. And we've sort of found that like the relationships you design, as you keep growing, they'll become more and more honest, and they'll tell you like, this sucks, this is terrible. Why are you designing it this way? I don't even get what you're doing. And you want to hear that. That's good news. Like when kids start telling you that it's bad, that's really good news. Not good to you. Good news in the sense of like you're designing well.
So I'll say definitely. I do totally believe in designing with kids, but having worked on the corporate side, there's not always time to design with the child or the resources that are sometimes given to you. And I think in those instances, a lot of it is just making sure that you are doing enough of the usability and enough of the focus groups and enough of the early intervention with kids to discuss with them what they want and what they like maybe about the ideas. you don't necessarily have to just go and ask them and say, hey, just build this game for me. Because a lot of times when you do that, you're also going to get kids who just build things that already exist rather than give you something new. And some things that adults have at times, just from experience, we have this ability to think outside as well into other boxes that maybe kids don't have experience with, and can test those ideas with them. I will say from my work at Nickelodeon, it's test. Really, like you learn in all of your classes, need to do a lot of testing, put it in front of kids, and you yourself need to be with the kids as well, because it doesn't help to take yourself out of that too much, because in order for you to design for a kid, you really want to pretend like you are that kid, and the more time you spend around them, the better you're going to be at that. And you can see that when you work with people in the corporate industry. Is you'll see the people who have no experience working with kids, and you'll see the people who have experience working with kids. Half the time you get all these vice presidents who are like, well, my son or daughter doesn't like this game, so it's crap, let's throw it away. And most of the time they're wrong, because it's one child as opposed to like a number of children. And that's honestly what you need, is you really just need to put yourself in their shoes. If you guys are designing kids games, watch kids television as much as possible.
There's your sign.
That will help you so much. Just making yourself the kid. Watch Cartoon Network, watch Disney, watch Nickelodeon.
Yeah, not Cartoon Network, not like Adult Swim, like
Not at all.
yeah, like Boomerang or
Well, but
Disney
another
XD
a good way of looking at it is that it also that can depend on the child that you want to develop for. If you're looking to develop for an edgier child, Cartoon Network tends to have some of the edgier shows
Right.
for you, or the more random shows. If you want slightly more subdued, but not like clean-cut Disney, then you want to be watching and seeing what's on things like maybe the Hasbro's channel, or the Hub, or Nickelodeon. And if you want a very clean-cut, like what?
Is that Hasbro channel?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
oh wow. JJ's on
Discovery. Everyone's learning today. But Disney has that clean cut, like everybody's nice and friendly and nobody really gets hurt kind of thing to them. So just immerse yourself in the environment of the kids that you want to get your stuff in front of.
Yeah, one of the other things, and I'm not saying anyone in this room because it's not no one here, but sometimes when people build games for me for class, they often will they only like to design the types of games they like to play, as opposed to stepping out of their sort of comfort zone. So if you like first-person shooters, every game you design seems to be a first-person shooter. If you like MMOs, like every game seems to be like World of Warcraft, right? And every one, no matter what the type of assignment is. And that's really where you can fall apart with working with kids, is that the models that you have may not necessarily work really well with them, and you really do, like as Craig said, have to see it at their level. And I think the idea of watching, modern cartoons and modern kids shows, it's even nice to see a range, like to do Cartoon Network, to do Disney, to do PBS, and to do all those different ones in order to sort of get a flavor for it.
I think Craig made also a good point also in the sense of like there's trade-offs between like if you're going to do focus groups and testers versus design partnering. I mean, design partnering takes a long time. Like you have to have a set of like Greg has in his lab with the kids coming in each week. You got to make a commitment. That takes a long time, and you'll get good results too. At the same point, you also work with 6 kids, the same kids. Some people might say like, well, don't you want to test with like 100 kids? And you may want to end up doing that as well, right? So it's not to say that you want to just commit yourself to one philosophy. You want to be able to look at so many different ways of usability and UX testing that's occurring, and to know what you have in your toolkit. Like why would I want to do a focus group today as opposed to designing kids tomorrow, right? Like you want Nickelodeon to both. I think they can bring a product.
You won it. Did we mention it won an Emmy?
Can we talk more about the design processes outside of designing with children? You guys talked about watching cartoons to get into that child's mindset. What are some other kind of tips that you have for getting outside of 25-year-old, mostly male audience?
Play their games.
Yeah,
No joke. having worked at Nickelodeon, I've played so many children's games, and you can get into it. Like, I actually love Skylanders, as simple and as it is, like, that's a game you can get into. Maybe it's also because I designed for children, so I got into it for that, and was a little disappointed that I left Nickelodeon before they bought me Disney Infinity. But, I honestly, really, and that's what our designers did too. A lot of our designers at Nickelodeon would sit in a dark room for hours just playing other kids' games to get some ideas, and mix them with whatever it was that they were trying to come up with.
I think Greg talked about like the setup of the kids team, and there's a real purpose in like that very first like 20 minutes was just hangout time. It's not there just to eat and like hang out. It's actually there for the adults to like sit with the kids and build a relationship and sort of get, and then like we talk about all the things, what they like to read, what they like to like, you know, wear, what they did at school today. Like those are, as silly as it is, it's really important to like actually sit down with a kid and just sort of hang out and just shoot the breeze and sort of get like, okay, so these are the things that they're starting to be interested in. And it's kind of silly, like, you know, we're eating cheese crackers and soda and just talking about it. Oh, sorry, not water. Not the high fructose corn syrup stuff. But really just, I mean, that's why we built it into that session, just to like a hangout, sort of hangout time.
If you have nieces, nephews, or your own children, neighbors, that kind of thing, something that could just be really fun to do is, you know, talk to their parents, be like, hey, you know, do you mind if we play and somehow like just see what they're playing with there, you know, in the room. Like Skylanders, and well, that's not Skylanders, Disney Infinity is actually based off of this mode in Toy Story 3, the video game for PC, which was like a toy box mode. And
All the consoles have it too.
Oh, they
And
have
it's
that
like
too?
$10 on Amazon.
yeah, it's really cheap
Go
to
and
get
try
it.
it out.
But so there's this mode called Toy Box mode. And so it's actually like just playing with things. Like you're not actually doing missions or things like that. It's just playing. It's the same as if you were to sit with a kid and play Legos with them. And you talk to them about Legos and you see what they build with the Legos. And very rarely is a 5-year-old is not going to build something very tangible with Legos. Like they'll build a horse, which is just, you know, like a stack this high and a stack that high, maybe something across. So you kind of have to see like what it is about them that they really enjoy, and doing other activities with them, seeing outside of the video game what kind of things that they find fun.
Jason mentioned earlier how you guys are grown-ups, right? You're all pretty removed from your childhoods.
Yeah.
But then there are shows like Sesame Street that have been on for like decades.
What does that mean?
Older than Ray.
Yes.
1974.
No.
As old as Ray.
It started in 1969. It didn't really take off until
Neither did I.
But
Thanks. You're welcome. The panel at 7 is completely different.
what qualities make that sort of timeless? Like, why is Sesame Street still valid today?
That's a good question. I think if you watch Sesame Street, like you can catch it on the YouTube channel. One of the things you'll notice is that like there's a big push to like get families to watch it together. And what we found a long time ago, so giving you guys a kind of a brief history of Sesame Street, it was developed as one of the first like digital learning tools ever. Like no one had thought about it. And scientifically, yeah, it was actually they thought that like, you know, if we could get poor, you know, children from low SES groups to watch Sesame Street, they could have enough skills and learning to you know, start school. And so Joan Gans Cooney initially thought of this idea, pitched it, and it started to air. And what they found out was actually the complete opposite happened. Like white middle class children started watching it, and they were the ones actually getting benefits of it. When they started looking at the research, well, what happened, right? Why did you know, the same group of kids are watching Sesame Street very early, for whatever reason, the learning aids were so different. What they found was that when the parents were sitting with the children watching Sesame Street, that was where actually the learning, the interaction was occurring. So a lot of times what they found was that parents would just kind of leave their kids alone and walk away, versus parents who actually sat there and watched it. So Sesame's really, it's important for the Sesame Workshop folks that they want to get parents to watch the kids. And we've done a lot of cognitive studies that show that like language learning occurs that way. That when children learn language, that they look at people's lips. They actually don't, not just listening, but so when Greg and his daughter are talking, she or his 18-month-old now, they're actually looking at Greg's lips as he's moving. That's how they partially the language. But when you look at a 2D screen of a person with the lips moving, it's actually very different. I mean, it's just sort of subtle cues like that, or even the idea of language processing talking in this case. So one of the reasons why Sesame Street becomes so much more relevant now, and they started realizing it, is that the grown-ups who grew up with Sesame Street got older, they still wanted them to come back. So number one is that they kept the iconic images. You still see Grover, you still see Grover. Those and Nintendo does the same thing. You got Mario.